And well, last but certainly not least, the last session to close the day, we have a legend to join us, both on the court and off. Someone standing tall as 2.29 meters, a proud son of Shanghai, an 8-time NBA All-Star, a Naismith Hall of Fame inductee in 2016, and currently the chairman of Chinese Basketball Association. And you all know who I'm talking about. That's Yao Ming. And he will be joining us virtually. And this session is called Slam Dunking into the Future, How Sports Can Transform Asia's Youth. And join me on stage will be Lien Luen, the General Manager of Gojek Singapore, President of Singapore Athletics, and Caixin Summit Young Leader. Lien, please. So we'll start. Hello, Yao Ming. I should call Chairman Yao Ming. Good to have you joining us virtually, and give us an opening remark. 请先给我们开场讲几句，谢谢。
各位在新加坡的朋友们，大家好。非常感谢大家可以聚到一起来畅谈一些话题。首先非常遗憾没有来到现场，由于工作的时间的安排等等，但是非常高兴可以在这样一个场合，包括之前也听到了很多的嘉宾的这个谈话，也增长了我的很多的见识。当然来这儿希望我谈的是体育，谈谈我个人对体育的一些看法吧。首先大家知道我是做篮球的，过去是打篮球的。其实大家有时候感觉体育好像是一个专业类别，但实际上它也是一个社会的类别。体育它用赛事竞赛的这种模式，把方方面面的社会人士都串联在一起。我记得我自己小时候，我还到现在还记得第一次抱起篮球去比赛，和同一条街道上的小朋友。时间过了几年之后，我有机会代表学校和其他的学校进行比赛，再往上代表上海去参加一些赛事，代表中国队去参加一些赛事，包括去海外的很多时候。我第一次个人出国的经历是在17岁，1997年参加了在法国举办的巴黎举办的一个训练营，在那个地方是第一次和很多同年龄的这种篮球的少年一起去竞技和比赛。那时候的那些友情甚至保持到了现在，很多人都现在不仅是2.20米多高了，可能体重也增长了很多，但是我们仍然保持了非常好的关系。所以说体育比赛它用竞赛这种模式，使我们不断的去跨越不断的去跨出自己的脚步，去见识世界，去meet different people，to meet different culture， 对我们个人成长真的是一个非常奇妙的一个旅程。我非常感谢我的经历，也非常有幸可以在体育行业里边继续为更多的青少年去服务。谢谢大家。
谢谢姚明，给我们介绍了你自己的经历，也告诉我们体育怎么样能够为你展开了一个新世界。接下来呢，那个采访用英文进行。I'll leave the time to Lien.
Yao Ming, thanks very much for joining us. During COVID, one of the things is you meet a lot of friends and new colleagues online, and you can never see how tall they are. And so right now, this is the only time that I can say I'm as tall as Yao Ming, because on the screen, we all look exactly the same. So, speaking about height, your parents were both basketball players. You were very tall as a young child. So it seems destined that you would be a pro basketball player. Do you remember a moment when you personally fell in love with basketball and said, yes, this is really what I want to do with my life?
Well, I have to say that we all have our teenage experience that sometimes we are self conflict. On one side that I feel proud of my parents, who they were a great basketball player back to 1970s. In other hand, that I don't want to do exactly like they did. So it's kind of like a little bit of a problem for myself. so I try a lot of stuff. You know, when I'm in school, actually, I'm a big fan of history and geology. So you know, I imagine my future could be some professor or something else. But obviously, my size dragged me back to the court again. So I still remember that actually is a night at around 16 or 17 years old. Around maybe 7 or 8 o'clock, we still practice on our court. Somehow that I hear those noising. Those noising are the basketball go into the net, or our shoes, all those very old shoes scrubbing on the floor. Those sounds are very beautiful. It's almost like music for me. At that moment is actually I decided I want to go to basketball because you know all those music is really attractive.
Thank you. You know, even the great Michael Jordan tried to do baseball. Did you ever consider other sports given your immense physical talent?
Actually, I played water polo before basketball, but I'm not very good at it. I'm not very good at it.
Well, better on land than on water. In your autobiography, A Life in Two Worlds, you know, you talk about being the #1 draft pick, the challenge of being one of the few Asians to play in the top tier NBA. What was that pressure like? You know, what of overcoming these personal challenges? What of these lessons would you offer to some of these other athletes from Asia that don't have the same role models to look up to?
Well, actually, back to 20 years ago when I was still a player, that it's not that complicated. The pressure is not exactly from, oh, you're from Asia or China, or you know, it's different from the player originally from North America. It's more about you care about what you want to do, that you want to prove yourself in a higher level of basketball. When you really care about anything, you will feel that pressure. Actually, that's combined like a twin. You can't really separate it. And all you need to do is live with the pressure and conquer it.
Got it. I think, you know, on the topic of dealing with pressure, nowadays with digital devices, whether it's an adult, whether it's kids, many people just turn to a digital device, you know, when they've got any spare moment. And as a result, sports have been trying to capture the short format, to capture back the attention, whether it's cricket. Singapore is the, you know, the host of the 3-on-3 FIBA Cup for the next few years. So are you exploring any innovations in basketball to further attract young kids or youth into sports or into basketball? How can we work with them to co-create this vision?
Well, yes, online device is really, I can't say that's a challenge for traditional sports, but it is. Extend our ability to, extend a lot of a territory of a lot of entertainment for the young kids today. Obviously, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we grew up, we don't have that kind of equipment. Obviously, we spend time on the sports field with our friends and neighborhood kids out there. But I believe that even the technology is being improved, but people cannot avoid that we still have offline needs. You know, for the last 3 years, that you know, the quarantine policy, that people are more oftenly to thinking, yes, the online technology is providing so much convenience right there, but we still have offline need to, you know, to have a tea together, a coffee together, and a face-to-face. And obviously, the play on the sports ground is a major thing. That without offline competition, that I mean, that's from 0 to 1. Without 0 to 1, everything afterwards is meaningless.
Got it. You know, China has organized many big sporting events over the years tremendously well. 2008 Beijing Olympics, 2015 track and field world championships, which obviously is my sport that I followed, and then 2019 was the FIBA Basketball World Cup. You have played on the biggest stage, and you've also helped to organize some of the biggest events, you know, in basketball. What is the difference between being the star on the stage versus organizing for them?
Oh, Yeah, that's a big difference. And some day I have to say that I miss the day I still play. Obviously those moments are very attractive. That when you stay on the middle of a court, that you have thousands of fans and cheering for you. But you have to understand this. My time already passed. It's for the young stars to rise. And my job right now today is to help them to get on the big stage, and to embrace their time. Hopefully, they can do their job not only to make themselves better and to know the world and know many friends like we had 20 years ago.
Fantastic. I mean, I think one of the challenges we often see is in the corporate world, leaders who enjoy the limelight so much that when their time is past, they don't really, want to be able to develop the next generation. So speaking of developing the next generation, the CBA has a fantastic top-tier league. Last I checked, you have 20 teams playing in the league with some international stars. And the women's teams in Asia are also doing very well. China won a silver at last year's FIBA Cup. Japan got a silver in the Olympics. How do you think we can further increase or improve, related to the last question, how do we further improve participation from, Asian teams to perform well at the world stage, particularly getting more women or women's teams to do so?
Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you for that. I think the only way to improve our performance is to, play with a higher level. For myself, like an example, imagine if I never made to the NBA when I'm 22 years old. What kind of Yao Ming it would be sitting here today? That would be different. So the only way to be better is to play with or against a better opponent and teammate, play with teammate. So obviously there's actually that experience will be improved time and time again in different country, different area. I think that's the most simple thing. But the hard part is how can we to cover the cost of many kids and many teams that they want to travel far. And that is what we try to do right now, not only in China, but outside China.
Got it. Yeah, I've never been to a ball game in the US, but whenever you see the clips or even of yourself when you're playing, that atmosphere is incredible. Any thoughts on how to recreate that kind of atmosphere outside of the US?
That's a very big question. That's a very big question. I think, first of all, that we have to build our sports organization stronger and better. There's very few sports organization in the world that's like a IOC, like a FIFA, FIBA, or an NBA. You can name a list of it. But I think in Asia, we don't have that kind of a organization that strong yet. That to put at a big stage over there that provides that need a strong organization behind it, and also then sports is a roots in the society that, and we need a much bigger number of the kids who and family to support all kind of sports, so we can have a much bigger population to fill this stage. I mean this is very complicated. I'm not sure I can finish it by today.
Well, I mean, looking at the thriving success of the domestic league in all the different cities, I think that's a really good start. In many of your interviews, you have said that people ask you if you would change anything, and you said no. The setbacks were what made you the man you are now. But for many of us who are fans, every time you had an injury or you had time out, it always made us feel very sad. So now that you're president of the CBA, I'm just very curious, are you doing anything different in terms of strength and conditioning, sports science, nutrition? What would you do differently now that you're president that you maybe didn't have 20 years ago, or the science hadn't developed 20 years ago?
Well, we have to send our kids out more. For example, we have about 7 or 8 kids right now in Europe play in Europe basketball camp. They got beat up just 2 days ago by 30, 40, 50 points. Are we stop there because we lost by 40 or 50 points, or we catch on? I think I'd rather going to choose the second way, that we still send more kids going out. They have to see the world. After they see the world, after they see what the top level is, the world level is, and they have set a goal for themselves that one day I want to be that good again. So I think just keep communicating with the world that will help us to find our way.
Got it. Oh, makes a lot of sense. I wanted to go back to your previous sentence, which is whenever you read about some of the retired world leaders, and they say some of them really can't step back. What allowed you to be at the height? You are an all-star many times. You've won a championship ring. What allowed you to walk away, or not walk away, but to retire and give back in such a constructive fashion? Many people cannot.
That's I don't know how. Okay. Well, I'll tell you a secret. That probably for many of tall people, that we never enjoy being being a center of people's attention, because we are too tall. We don't like people always looking at us and say, "Hey, how tall you are," and we try hide in the shadow. At least I am. That's why when I'm retired, I feel I'm relieved.
Got it. And so, Yao Ming, thank you so much for your sharing. And I hope, ladies and gentlemen in the audience, you really appreciate it as well. Many of the lessons that I think, Yao Ming shared are very unique to him, but I think it maybe gave you a chance to experience walking in his shoes. Of course, if you don't know, he wears size 18 shoes. So those are very, very big shoes to fill. Yao Ming, the clock is counting down, the buzzer is about to buzz. What would your go-to advice or clutch shot advice be for our audience? Parting words from you.
Don't think, just shoot.
Thank you, Yao Ming.
Perfect. Thank you, Yao Ming.
We hope to welcome you to Singapore again.
Next terming president, thank you so much, Yao Ming. A star, a leader, and that kid who fell in love with basketball hearing the old shoes scratching the court floor. Thank you so much for spending the day with us today, and we'll see you tomorrow at the day 2 of Asia New Vision Forum. Thank you. And thank you, Lien.